Well, as negotiations continue, let's take a closer look at what's at stake for Britain's economy and European businesses. I spoke to financial analyst Louise Cooper and economist Patrick Young, CEO of Hansa Trade. I began by asking what's behind the timing of this Brexit push.
It's about politics. In particular, it's about migration, it's about human rights, and of the fact that for many British people, we are an island nation. I think we think like islanders. And we see a lot of the rules imposed by Europe that we don't want to see imposed. So I went on holiday this summer and I drove through 3 continental countries in 3 hours. And that is a different mindset for those that live on the continent. They see themselves as much more integrated.
Now, Patrick, I want to bring you in here. As Louise was mentioning, this islander mentality. Do you think that's something that could work to Britain's detriment?
No, I don't actually. I think Britain's island mentality served it incredibly well during the course of history. If you look at what went on, it was able to conquer most of the known world during the course of the 17th, 18th, 19th centuries. And in fact, during the 20th century, the United Kingdom still managed to hit above its weight. Why? Because it bequeathed upon the world the leadership of effectively the Anglophone world. And in that respect, I think the UK still has a great deal to give. The difficulty we see at the moment is that it's being held back by its frankly reticent European neighbours who are in different turns protectionist, absolutely backward towards communism or towards capitalism, and effectively aren't interested in the whole concept of really moving forward in a free trading ethos. That's the problem for the United Kingdom right now.
And Louise, would you agree with that statement?
One of the reasons Angela Merkel wants the UK to stay in the EU is because the German view of the world, pro-capitalism, pro-economic reform, is very similar to the UK view of the world and how the business and economy works. And so for Germany, the next biggest country is France and then Italy, they don't see the world economically in the way that the Germans and the British do. So I think it depends on the country. One of the most telling things, I think, has been is that old Europe, so Italy and France, has been much less keen to reform and take on board the lessons of the financial crisis. Whereas new Europe, Ireland and Spain and Greece, probably not so much Greece, but Ireland and Spain, they've known what it is to be economically backward and they don't want to go back there. And so interestingly, pay cuts on public sector workers, drastic austerity has gone down a lot easier in Ireland and Spain because they don't have this sense of protectionist entitlement that maybe Italy and France have. So I think it's difficult to put all the European nations together, but I do think that the UK is quite a vibrant, open economy and realises that we have to compete internationally. And one of our concerns has been the need for the City of London, our big financial centre, not to be mired into EU red tape and law.
Now, Louise, I want to bring Patrick in here. Now, as we talk about capitalism and the importance of businesses, what do UK businesses have to gain by leaving the European Union?
Well, of course, what they've got to gain is the ability for the United Kingdom to be able to better determine its free trade agreements. At the moment, the difficulty is that those who are the recidivist nations amongst Europe, say, for example, the Mediterranean basin, which is basically going nowhere, if not declining, ultimately, they are the tail that's wagging the dog of the European Union's free trade agreements. So we get these ridiculous bendings over backwards for farmers in France, for the French movie industry, for all sorts of other ridiculous protected industries that aren't going forward. The opportunity for the United Kingdom is, as a leader in the Anglophone world, it's able to talk the lingua franca of global commerce. It's able to go forward. And ultimately, it's absolutely true what Louise says. Some of the countries of the European Union do want to go forward, but collectively amongst the 28 nations, we've got a declining continent. 1973, when the United Kingdom joined the European Union, the European Economic Community, as it then was 37% of the world economy. Nowadays, we are a continent in pro rata decline.
You also have countries like Norway that aren't part of the European Union, but still kind of get to dip a toe in and enjoy some of the benefits as if they're EU members without having to be in it. So why can't the UK just do that?
Well, the trouble at the moment is maybe we can, but when We don't know what deals we'll be able to negotiate after Brexit happens. That is the problem. Is maybe on a 20-year view, coming out of the EU will be the best thing to ever happen to the UK economy. It'll make us more competitive. It'll make us more focused on doing what we do best. Absolutely. But we don't know right now what trade deals we can negotiate. And the point is, it's not like we've never been a member of the EU. It's we've been a member, and then we decided we didn't want to be a member when we come out.
Right.
So I think it's a very different very different negotiation to Switzerland. They've never wanted to be part of the EU. They've not been a part and then come out. There are difficulties in that position, and no one has exited the EU. We just don't know what the future will be. If the UK didn't have £1.5 trillion worth of debt, if the UK economy was growing very strongly, maybe we can take the risk. And the problem is that it's very uncertain. The UK and the global economy and the US economy are slowing, and we have an awful lot of government debt we have to, at some stage, pay back. Is this the time for us really to be putting that all at risk with a referendum?
And I do want to bring,
is poor.
And I do want to bring Patrick in here, talking about the timing, and as well as the UK potentially being the first to leave the EU. Is fear of the unknown, should that be enough to stop Britain from exiting the EU?
Well, clearly what you can see is this mass media scaremongering campaign is in full swing in order to try and convince the people of the United Kingdom that they're better off losing 120 billion a year in terms of the red tape, the cost of the European Union membership. They're better off going to possibly this idea that we're going to all move our financial services to Frankfurt. Every man, woman and child, including retirees in Frankfurt, would have to be employed in order to manage to even remotely get close to being the size of the London financial centre. Look at the course of the last week. The Hong Kong Shanghai Bank, where has it decided to retain its headquarters? Not in China, not in the special administrative regime in Hong Kong, not in the United States of America, in London. Why? Was that because of Brexit? They don't care. The United Kingdom was a massive financial centre before the European Union even existed. As of this moment in time, it's really a simple question. Does the United Kingdom want to exit, or does it want to simply wait around until the European Union falls over under the weight of its own red tape? Either way, it's mutually assured destruction in order to manage to sit around and endure what is effectively a divorce where there probably will be spousal abuse from the European Union going forward.